writes, "It's time to reignite your curiosity about who you are, what you're here for, what matters most, and what matters least." So let's go back in time. At the end of 8th grade, my parents informed my siblings and I that we would be leaving the only country I ever known to return to the one I had left behind as a preschooler. We had lived in Atlanta, Georgia for as long as I could remember, and we would be moving back to Puerto Rico, an island in the Caribbean where everyone spoke Spanish, a language that I did not speak, and most importantly, a place where I knew absolutely no one. So I started freshman year in a school similar to St. Thomas, an academically rigorous and supportive Catholic school. One stark difference: there was not a boy to be found. The all-girls school known as St. Joseph's Academy, or in Spanish, Academia San Jose, was an elite prep school for the girls on the island. With my pleated skirt below my knees, because the nuns would make us kneel on the floor to make sure it touched, if not we would get a demerit, I walked into this new school which became my home for the next 4 years. It was clear on day one that at this school there was a social hierarchy. There were the cool and the popular girls, there were the bookish and the smart girls, there were the musically and artistically talented girls, and there was the group of girls who didn't feel like they fit in any of the above. I, as the outsider, fit squarely in group number 4. At our first class meeting, performance teams for field day were discussed. I didn't know this, but this school has a long and distinguished reputation for performance teams. And participation was voluntary but encouraged. And the dance squad and the cheerleaders, those two teams, needed leaders and participants. So the dance squad was all set. The popular girls, the smart girls, the talented girls, they were all happily talking about the costumes and the choreographers and the locations for rehearsals. Now, I want you to think of this. This was like Camp Rock or High School Musical. It was to that degree of production and fanfare, okay? When the class advisor asked who would be participating in the cheerleading squad, which was in essence a dance squad with cheers and stunts and acrobatics and lifts, no one raised a hand. The room got awkwardly silent. The girls who were not included in the dance squad dropped their eyes to the floor, and a pregnant pause ensued. I broke the silence and I raised my hand and I said, "I'll do it, I'll be the captain." Jaws dropped everywhere. The new girl? After the shock had subsided, some relief was felt amongst the group because, like it or not, the team needed to prepare, and it was clear that the dance squad wanted nothing to do with it or with us. Since this script reads like a Disney movie, I don't think I have to go into a lot of detail for you to know the outcome. The motley crew goes big and wins the whole thing, overshadowing the dance squad, and the principal saying that this was the strongest freshman team she had seen in her whole career. That happened. What I do want to tell you, though, is that through the arduous and long months of preparation for this performance, those girls became a team. They felt like they belonged, and they achieved something that they never thought possible. They knew I believed in them and that the expectations were high. All of those girls left with a sense of confidence, belonging, and accomplishment. I was left knowing that that's what mattered. The esteemed Maya Angelou is known to have said, "People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." This act of service to others brings a joy unlike any other. It is love in action, and at that young age, I knew that I wanted to do that my whole life. So today, as a coach and a trainer, it gives me true joy to help people reach their potential by believing in themselves and working hard. My athletes know that I believe in them even when they doubt themselves. They know to expect a text from me before an Olympic qualifier, before a marathon, before a triathlon, and it usually reads something like, "I'm in your corner like Nick." I also send out texts to athletes who are about to tackle a difficult situation at home or about to undergo their first chemo treatment. I guess you could say that one way I decided to be a game changer was to remain forever a cheerleader. So the first lesson I learned in high school was that true joy comes from service to others. As a sophomore, my sister and I caught a ride to school with a friend from our neighborhood. My mom was busy taking care of my baby brother at that time, and she really needed us to get a ride to school because she needed to get my brother Franco to preschool. It was tough because our friend was an early bird. She liked to be at school with plenty of time before the bell. I, on the other hand, barely made it out the door in time for the 7:43 a.m. bell. Eyes half shut, loafers on like flip-flops, and my backpack half opened, hanging off of one shoulder. I was surprised one day when our friend said that she wanted to start going to daily mass on campus at 7 a.m. 7 a.m. She said she would be happy to continue taking us, but we would need to leave earlier. Seeing as though our family circumstances required that we get a ride, I begrudgingly agreed. Since I was at school so early, I decided that I would just go to mass with my friend. Campus was pretty desolate at that time, and I was so asleep that studying would be pointless. As one morning became two, and two became a month, I started to realize that I really liked spending that time in church. It was on those quiet mornings that I began to see God as a comforter, as an intimate friend who loved me exactly how I was. I began to trust God with my problems, my dreams, and my hopes, and I gently placed my vulnerable heart in His gentle and competent hands. This gave me a sense of peace that I had never experienced before, and I knew that I wanted to have that feeling for my whole life. St. Augustine in his Confessions wrote, "You have made us for yourself, Lord, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you." It was a respite from this restlessness, from the daily grind, from the pressures at school, from anxiety about the future, that God's peace always provided. Additionally, this closeness to God allowed me to see things in different ways. When you spend time with someone that you love, you get to know them, how they feel, how they act. And I realized that as my relationship was deepening, I was better able to see how I could be a game changer in different situations in my own life. I began to see opportunities to be a friend to the friendless, to encourage those that were feeling helpless, to have patience with those that just needed a little bit more understanding, to do the right thing even when it was hard. It turns out that living a life of grace brings true peace. So, the second lesson I learned in high school is that true peace is a gift from the big guy upstairs, and it can't be replicated and it can't be replaced. So when it was time for graduation, I had become friends with everyone in class. I glided seamlessly through all the different groups, was friendly with everyone, treated everyone with respect and kindness, and had enjoyed some great friendships along the way. The who that I was becoming was blossoming, and I felt a sense of accomplishment as I graduated high school. During the graduation ceremony, awards were given out. I was a good student, maybe 25%, top 25% of my class. I was in the National Honor Society. I was absolutely terrible at math, but great at English and history. I was involved in student government, and of course, for all 4 years, I'd been the captain of the cheerleaders. Many of the prestigious academic awards were given to friends of mine who were off to Harvard and Princeton, whose SAT scores were through the roof, and I could not have been more proud of them. I received a few smaller academic awards and recognitions, nothing to write home about, but I was so thrilled that I had been able to do as well as I did at such a demanding school. The last award of the evening was the Christian Witness Award. It was awarded to the student who at all times had displayed the hallmarks of what you would call a game changer. Someone who acted like Christ did in his ministry, reaching out to others, accompanying them in joys and sorrows, exhibiting joy and having a heart of service. I humbly shared that honor with my classmate Virginia that night, who is now a teacher at an all-girls school in San Juan. She continues to be a game changer in the lives of many young people, just like the teachers that you see around you today. That night of my graduation, my dad sat next to me and he told me how proud he was of me. He said that the academic accolades that I had achieved were commendable, and that he knew how hard I had worked to achieve them. Then he said this: "The most important award you won tonight was the Christian Witness Award. For that, I could not be any prouder." So the third lesson that I learned was that true success is measured by your positive impact on others. And so it went. The who I was becoming continued to develop through college, graduate school, as a newlywed, as a high school teacher, as a college lecturer, as a new mom, an entrepreneur, a coach, a trainer. The who I am never changes, even though my life circumstances do. Now, according to society's measures of success, I've had some. Not gonna lie, it's been great. I've traveled the world with the US Olympic snowboarding team and with the Nike snowboarding team as the head trainer for one of the riders. This is what my office looked like for years. I stood at the bottom of a half pipe, collaborating with some of the best US Olympic coaches that we have and some of the best sports psychologists from around the world. I've run a successful business for 10 years. I rub elbows with celebrities. I get backstage passes to TV sets in LA. I get the best VIP passes for parties in Aspen. I'm invited to my clients' book launches, and I get front row tickets for X Games and Do Tours and all of that. Sounds great, right? It is. But it would never, ever satisfy alone. If I can be honest, the most exciting thing that has happened to me this week at work was receiving this text from the daughter-in-law of a new client who is suffering from type 2 diabetes, kidney failure, and is on multiple medications for her medical and mental health conditions. Her mother-in-law has sought me out as a coach and a trainer so she can make changes in her lifestyle to support improved health. She wrote, "Thank you so much. I'm not sure if you know this, but your work could be saving her life." My wish is that you receive messages like this regularly in your future. It means that you've changed the game for someone, and for that, they will always be grateful. I hope that you experience the kind of success that truly matters, and that your eyes can see clearly the need around you, and that your heart springs forth in service to others. If you're ever in doubt on how to become a game changer, St. Francis of Assisi made a cheat sheet. Where there's hatred, bring love. Where there's injury, pardon. Where there's doubt, faith. Where there's despair, hope. Where there's darkness, light. Does that one ring a bell? And where there's sadness, joy. Winston Churchill once said, "You make a living by what you get, and you make a life by what you give." So give yourself as a game changer to this world. We need you. Thank you.